The lights in the Family Feud studio blazed bright as another episode was being taped on a Tuesday afternoon in Atlanta. Steve Harvey stood at his position, his energy infectious as always, ready to guide two families through another round of America's favorite game show. The Martinez family from Phoenix faced off against the Washington family from Detroit, both groups buzzing with competitive excitement. Angela Washington stood with her family, trying to mirror their enthusiasm. At 35, she was the youngest adult on her team, flanked by her brother Marcus, her cousin Denise, her aunt Loretta, and her mother Pearl. She wore a bright yellow team shirt that her daughter Kayla had helped pick out the night before, insisting that Mommy needs to wear sunshine colors on TV. Steve was in prime form, working the crowd with his signature blend of humor and charm. Martinez family, y'all came all the way from Phoenix. It's hot out there, ain't it? He joked, getting laughs from the audience. And Washington family from the Motor City, Detroit, where they make them cars and them strong people. The game had progressed smoothly through 2 rounds with the families trading points back and forth. Steve's reactions to the answers had the audience in stitches. From his bewildered double takes to his exaggerated walks across the stage when someone said something particularly outlandish. Everything felt normal, routine even, for a Family Feud taping. Then came the 3rd round. All right, give me Angela. Give me Rosa, Steve called out, summoning players from each family to the podium. Angela walked forward, her legs feeling slightly unsteady. She'd been fighting exhaustion all day, the kind that sleep couldn't fix. 8 months. It had been 8 months since James passed away, and she still caught herself setting 2 coffee cups out in the morning before remembering. Rosa Martinez reached the podium first, her hand hovering eagerly over the buzzer. Angela positioned herself, trying to focus on the game instead of the constant weight in her chest. Top 8 answers on the board, Steve announced, reading from his card. Here's the question. Name something a parent does when their kids aren't watching. Buzz. Rosa's hand hit first. Eat their Halloween candy, she exclaimed with a guilty grin. The audience laughed, and Steve played it up. Oh, so we got some candy thieves in here. Let's see. Eat their candy. Ding. The board showed it as the number 4 answer. Martinez family, you playing or passing? Steve asked. We're playing, Steve, Rosa shouted, high-fiving Angela before returning to her family. The Martinez family worked through their answers, watch adult TV shows, check social media, take a nap. They were doing well, hitting several answers on the board. The game continued its normal rhythm until they hit their 2nd strike on a wrong answer. All right, Washington family, you can steal, Steve announced, walking over to their side. Angela, this is for the win. We need one of those remaining answers. Name something a parent does when their kids aren't watching. Angela stood at the microphone, and suddenly the question hit her differently than intended. Her mind went to all the things she'd been doing when Kayla and Tyler weren't watching, the moments she'd stolen when they were at school or asleep. Cry in the bathroom, Angela said quietly. The words had escaped before she could stop them. The studio fell into an unusual hush. Steve's expression shifted from his game show persona to something more genuine, more concerned. I'm sorry, what was that? Steve asked gently, moving closer to Angela. Angela's eyes were already filling with tears. She gripped the podium, her knuckles white. Cry in the bathroom, she repeated, her voice stronger but shaking. That's what I do when my kids aren't watching. I cry in the bathroom so they won't see. Steve Harvey had hosted thousands of episodes, heard countless answers, but the raw honesty in Angela's voice stopped him cold. He could see her family members behind her, their celebratory poses frozen as they registered what was happening. Angela, Steve said softly, completely dropping his entertainer voice. Sweetheart, talk to me. The production crew exchanged uncertain glances. This wasn't in any rundown, but Steve's authority on his set was absolute, and the cameras kept rolling. Angela's mother, Pearl, stepped forward, placing a protective hand on her daughter's shoulder. It's okay, baby, she whispered. My husband, James. Angela began, her voice cracking. He passed away 8 months ago. Construction accident. 1 minute he was sending me a text about what to make for dinner, and an hour later, the hospital was calling. The audience was completely silent. Several people were already reaching for tissues. I have 2 kids, Angela continued. Kayla's 7 and Tyler's 5. They keep asking when Daddy's coming home from heaven, and I don't know what to tell them anymore. I don't know how to explain that Daddy can't come back. Steve stood very still, letting her speak. His own eyes were glistening. Every morning, they need breakfast. They need help getting dressed. They need lunch money. They need me to smile and tell them everything's going to be okay. And I do it. I do all of it. But when they're at school, when they're asleep, when they're watching cartoons, Angela's voice broke completely. I lock myself in the bathroom and cry until I can't breathe because I don't know how to do this without him. Steve moved around the podium and did something that went against every television protocol. He pulled Angela into a genuine embrace, microphone and all. Listen to me, Steve said, his voice carrying through the studio. You are doing it. You're doing it every single day. You're getting those babies dressed. You're making them breakfast. You're keeping them safe and loved. That's not just doing it. That's doing it excellently. Angela pulled back slightly, looking up at Steve through her tears. But I'm falling apart. No, Steve said firmly. No, you're not falling apart. You're grieving. You're human. You're a woman who lost her partner. And you're still showing up for your children every single day. You know what that is? That's superhero stuff. The audience began to applaud softly, respectfully. Angela's family had surrounded her now, creating a protective circle. Steve turned to address everyone. The audience, the cameras, both families. Let me tell you all something. We do this show, we have fun, we laugh at funny answers, but sometimes real life shows up on this stage. And when it does, we stop playing games and we act like family. He looked back at Angela. How long has it been since you asked for help? Angela thought about it. I don't want to burden anyone. Everyone has their own problems. Pearl Washington spoke up then, her voice strong. Angela Michelle Washington, you are not a burden. You are my baby girl, and you've been trying to carry this all by yourself. She's right, Steve said. And I'm going to tell you something else. Those tears you're hiding in the bathroom, your kids know, baby. Kids always know. And you know what they're learning? They're learning that their mama is so strong that even when she's broken, she still shows up for them. Marcus, Angela's brother, stepped forward. Angie, we've been trying to help, but you keep pushing us away. You keep saying you're fine. Because I'm supposed to be fine, Angela exclaimed. James and I, we had plans. We were supposed to raise these kids together. We were supposed to grow old together. He was supposed to teach Tyler how to play basketball and walk Kayla down the aisle one day. Now it's just me, and I don't know how to be both parents. Steve nodded slowly. You don't have to be both parents. You just have to be their mama. And from what I'm seeing, you're already doing an incredible job at that. He paused, then made a decision. We're going to do something different today. Both families are going to play together for this answer. Not against each other, but together. Because that's what families do. They come together when someone's hurting. The Martinez family immediately agreed, Rosa Martinez walking over to stand with the Washingtons. We're with you, she said simply to Angela. Steve returned to the board. Now, Angela, you said cry in the bathroom. Let's see if that's up there. He turned to the board, and everyone waited. Ding. The number 2 answer appeared. Cry. Have emotions. The audience erupted in supportive applause. Angela looked shocked. You see that? Steve said. You're not alone in this. Parents all over the world are doing exactly what you're doing. Holding it together for their kids, and then finding private moments to feel their feelings. That's not weakness. That's love. Angela's daughter Kayla had been watching from the audience with Angela's neighbor. The 7-year-old suddenly broke free and ran onto the stage, wrapping her arms around her mother's waist. "Mommy, it's okay to be sad," Kayla said, her young voice carrying clearly. "I'm sad too. We can be sad together." That broke Steve completely. He had to turn away for a moment, wiping his eyes with his handkerchief. The entire studio was in tears. Tyler, seeing his sister on stage, also ran up. The 5-year-old looked at Steve Harvey with wide eyes. "Mr. Steve, my mommy is the best mommy in the whole world. She makes pancakes shaped like dinosaurs even when she's tired." Steve knelt down to Tyler's level. "You know what? I believe you. Your mommy is pretty special." He stood back up, addressing the studio again. "This is what I want everyone watching to understand. Angela came here thinking she was hiding her pain successfully. But her babies already knew their mama was hurting, and they love her anyway. They don't need her to be perfect. They just need her to be there." Angela was holding both her children now, her family surrounding them. The Martinez family had joined the embrace, creating one large circle of support. Steve made an announcement. "Both families are going to split the prize money today. But more than that." He reached into his suit pocket and pulled out a card. "Angela, this is my personal contact. Not my assistant, not my manager. Me. You're going to call me next week, and we're going to connect you with some resources. Grief counseling, support groups for widowed parents, financial planning, whatever you need." "Why?" Angela asked through her tears. "Why would you do this?" "Because when I was at my lowest, when I was homeless and had nothing, people helped me," Steve replied. "And because those 2 beautiful children deserve to see their mama not just survive this, but come through it stronger." The taping paused for a break, but nobody moved. Both families stayed on stage, talking, exchanging numbers, making plans to stay in touch. The audience members were talking to each other, many sharing their own stories of loss and survival. When taping resumed, they finished the game, but it had transformed into something else entirely. Every answer was met with encouragement from both families. Every point scored was celebrated by everyone. It wasn't about winning anymore. It was about connection. During Fast Money, Steve made another unprecedented decision. "Angela and Rosa, you're playing Fast Money together. One mama who's been through it all, and one mama standing with her. Let's do this." They played as a team. And when they won the 20-0, both families celebrated as one. The money would be split, but both families had already privately decided to give their portions to Angela for her children's college funds. 6 weeks later, when the episode aired, it immediately went viral. The clip of Angela's confession and Steve's response was shared millions of times. The hashtag bathroom tears began trending, with thousands of parents sharing their own stories of private moments of grief and struggle. Messages flooded in from around the world. Single parents, widowed spouses, grieving children who had lost parents, all reached out to say that Angela's honesty had given them permission to acknowledge their own pain while still being strong for their families. "Your courage in admitting you cry in the bathroom made me realize I'm not a bad mother for doing the same thing," one message read. "I lost my wife last year and have been pretending to be okay for our kids. Seeing your story made me realize it's okay to not be okay," wrote another. 3 months after the episode aired, Angela appeared on Steve Harvey's talk show with an update. The transformation was remarkable. While grief was still clearly a part of her journey, there was a light in her eyes that hadn't been there before. "The most amazing thing happened after the show aired," Angela told Steve. "Other parents from my kids' school reached out. Some were single parents, some were just parents who understood struggle. We formed a support group. We take turns watching each other's kids so we can have time to grieve, to rest, to be human." "And your kids?" Steve asked. "How are Kayla and Tyler?" Angela smiled, a real, genuine smile. "They're doing better. We started family therapy, something I couldn't afford before the help from the show and the community. Kayla doesn't keep her sadness inside anymore. And Tyler, he still asks about Daddy, but now he also says, Daddy would be proud of us. Right, Mommy? And I can honestly say, yes. Steve leaned forward. What would you tell other parents who are hiding in bathrooms, crying where their kids can't see? Angela's answer became a rallying cry for struggling parents everywhere. I'd tell them that hiding your pain doesn't protect your children. It just teaches them to hide theirs too. Being honest about grief, while still showing up with love, that's what really protects them. And crying doesn't make you weak. Sometimes, it's the bravest thing you can do. The impact of Angela's appearance on Family Feud extended far beyond anything anyone could have anticipated. Steve Harvey established the Bathroom Tears Foundation, specifically designed to support suddenly single parents dealing with loss and grief. The foundation provided not just financial support, but emotional resources, therapy services, and community connections. A year later, at the one-year anniversary special of the foundation, Angela stood on stage as one of the speakers. She talked about James, about her children, about the journey from that bathroom floor to standing strong. Not perfect, but strong. I still cry, she admitted to the audience of hundreds of parents who had faced similar losses. But now I don't always hide it. Now my kids and I have sad days together, and happy days together. We talk about Daddy, we laugh about memories, we cry when we miss him, and we keep going, not because we have to be strong, but because we have each other. Kayla and Tyler appeared on stage with her, now 8 and 6, both wearing t-shirts that said, "My mom is a superhero." Tyler grabbed the microphone with childhood confidence. "My mommy said it's okay to be sad when you miss someone," he announced. "And Mr. Steve Harvey said my mommy is brave. I think they're both right." The audience erupted in applause and tears. Steve Harvey, who was hosting the event, had to take a moment to compose himself. "You know," Steve said, addressing the crowd, "when Angela said those words, 'Cry in the bathroom,' on my show, she thought she was revealing weakness. Instead, she revealed the strength that millions of parents recognize. The strength to keep going when your world has ended. The strength to smile for your babies when your heart is breaking. The strength to admit you're not okay and accept help." He looked at Angela directly. "You changed lives that day. Not by being perfect, but by being real." Angela nodded, holding her children close. "James would be proud," she said softly. "Not because I'm doing it perfectly, but because I'm doing it at all. And because I finally learned that accepting help isn't giving up, it's giving my kids the best version of their mom." The event raised over $2 million for the foundation, but more importantly, it created a network of support for thousands of families. Support groups formed across the country, all started by parents who had seen Angela's moment on Family Feud and realized they weren't alone in their bathroom tears. 5 years later, Angela Washington became a certified grief counselor herself, specializing in helping suddenly single parents navigate loss while raising children. She often started her sessions with new clients by asking a simple question: "Where do you go to cry?" When they looked surprised by the directness of the question, she would share her story about a game show, a moment of unplanned honesty, and how admitting she cried in bathrooms changed not just her life, but thousands of others. Kayla, now 13, wrote an essay for school about her mom that won a national contest. In it, she wrote, "My mom taught me that being strong doesn't mean not crying. It means crying when you need to and then making dinosaur pancakes anyway. She taught me that families aren't just the people you're related to, but also the people who show up when you're sad. And she taught me that sometimes telling the truth about your pain is the bravest thing you can do." Tyler, now 11, and playing basketball just like his dad had planned to teach him, with help from Uncle Marcus and Coach Steve from the community center, kept a picture in his locker. It wasn't from before his dad passed away, trying to preserve some perfect past. It was from that Family Feud taping, his mom holding him and Kayla on stage, surrounded by two families who had become one, with Steve Harvey's hand on his mom's shoulder. Under it, in his careful handwriting, he had written, "The day Mom showed everyone that superheroes cry too." Angela still wears her yellow Family Feud shirt sometimes, usually on days when she needs to remember her own strength. It's faded now, worn soft from so many washes. But when she puts it on, she remembers standing on that stage, terrified and broken, and finding out that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit you're not okay. She remembers Steve Harvey stopping a game show to remind her she was a hero. She remembers two families becoming one, to surround her with support. She remembers her babies running on stage to tell her it was okay to be sad. And she remembers that crying in bathrooms doesn't make you weak. It makes you a parent doing their best with a broken heart. The episode continues to air in reruns, and every time it does, the show receives messages from parents saying, "That's me. I cry in the bathroom too." And every time, they're directed to resources, support groups, and communities of people who understand that sometimes strength looks like hiding to fall apart, and sometimes it looks like being brave enough to let others see you break. Steve Harvey often says it was one of the most important episodes in Family Feud's history, not because of ratings or viral moments, but because it reminded everyone that behind every contestant, every audience member, every person we meet, there might be someone crying in a bathroom, doing their best to hold it together for someone they love. And sometimes, all it takes is one moment of honest vulnerability to remind them they're not alone, they're not weak, and they're doing better than they think. Angela Washington went on Family Feud to win money for her kids' future. Instead, she won something far more valuable: the knowledge that her truth could help others. Her pain had purpose, and her children would grow up knowing that their mother was brave enough to be human in front of the whole world. And in bathrooms across America, parents still take a moment to cry. But now they know they're part of a community of warriors doing the same thing, feeling their feelings in private moments so they can show up with love in public ones. They're not alone. They never were. Angela Washington and Steve Harvey made sure everyone knew that. Today, when people ask Angela about that moment on Family Feud, she says, "I thought I was confessing failure. Instead, I was claiming my strength." Steve Harvey didn't just stop a game show that day. He started a movement of parents admitting that we're all just doing our best, and sometimes our best includes crying in bathrooms. And somewhere, James is watching, proud that his wife's moment of vulnerability became a beacon of hope for thousands of families, learning to navigate loss, one honest tear at a time.